somebody who has spent time in some maybe not so well-run organizations that we are going to talk about here on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe is none other than Davante Adams, who finds himself with the LA Rams, a team who pushed the Philadelphia Eagles to the brink last year, played the Eagles closer and tougher than anybody else the Eagles saw in the postseason. But Davante Adams wasn't a part of that because he was finishing up last year with the New York Jets. And so Davante spoke yesterday about his experience in LA and maybe some differences from what he's gone through the past couple of years.
This game is supposed to be a kid's game, and us just have a good time, a fun time out there together. Kind of feel like, Pop Warner, high school, college ball all over the game. And that's exactly what this team feels like in the best way possible. It feels like a college-type camaraderie. Yeah, it's always going to be different, but I feel like this is what I needed just based off the vibe and the aura of the building, and everybody's in a good mood. It's not like a dark cloud over the building, and I've experienced that quite a bit over the last few years. So it's a glaring difference when you come into a building like this.
Well, there's new coaches in his last two stops, so it ain't like it's a hard point to prove.
He's probably looking around going, wait, so you don't have an owner landing a helicopter on the practice field? Like you don't have any of that stuff going on? We don't have all the other chaos that came along with whatever the hell the Raiders were thinking and trying to do there, and whatever the hell the Jets were. When you go from the Raiders and the Jets to the Rams, he's got to be looking around going, oh wow, this is how it should be. Like this kind of brings me back and reminds me of what things were like in Green Bay for a time. Like this is a whole different look for my NFL life and career.
By the way, it's Joe Beninati. Sorry, Joe. I used to have him on my show all the time when I was in Washington. So shouts out to Joe Beninati. I don't know why I said Brian McNally. I think McNally writes for the Post though. Anyway, to your point, Davante Adams has a body of work that would say you're able to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's what I would say. If I remove my emotions from how things went with him in Vegas, based upon one of my closest friends being the head coach at the time that he departed, it's the year before. No, they got rid of him. When did they get rid of him?
AP?
Was that during AP's time?
Yeah.
They got rid of him while AP was still there, right?
Yeah.
Because AP coached this last year. Yeah. As you guys can see, sometimes my post-traumatic syndrome plays out on over the air. Like me and AP have been through some things with football and stuff like that, and he's fortunate enough to have been able to get a Super Bowl ring and coach as a head coach. I never thought I'd have a close friend that'd be a head coach, but that's pretty cool. But, obviously I thought they gave him a raw deal. And to me, removing those emotions away from the personal aspect of how you saw things go in Las Vegas, just looking at the body of work that Davante had going into leaving Green Bay to play for the Raiders, you would have expected to see more. You would have thought that the results would have been different, and they weren't. So I got to say I'm sympathetic to what Davante was saying and what he was feeling. And then you go into New York. Now, while I'll say, for him to think that you were going to leave Vegas and go to New York for a better situation, I mean, the idea of thinking that you and Aaron Rodgers being reunited was intriguing. But if we're being realistic, what would have gave you any inclination that it was going to be a great situation to go to New York? Like, I don't buy that one. So it says to me that there's something about Las Vegas and the Raiders that was so bad that he'd take a risk for the amount of time that he was going to do and go to New York and play with Aaron Rodgers in that situation, which didn't pan out very nicely.
I think the appealing part of the Raiders was Derek Carr. because him and Derek Carr were buddies. They're good friends. And so he thought, listen, if I'm going to
play one down together.
And well, they did, but
they did, didn't they?
Yeah, but then they benched Derek Carr later in the season, and then they move on from Derek Carr, and Davante Adams
they
is
got
looking around.
One season together.
Davante Adams is looking around going, what the hell's happening here? Josh McDaniels, that experiment was a disaster. So everything that Davante Adams thought he was getting in Las Vegas, he didn't get. And so he was vocal about it. He was frustrated. He was disappointed. I think the appeal to go play for the Jets was like, well, look, they're both diaper fires, but at least, I got my other good friend in the NFL who can be a part of that. If I can't play with Derek Carr again, I'll just go play with Aaron Rodgers. And they did it. And, they caught a couple of more touchdowns together and all that. I just think
I don't know that I buy that, though.
What do you mean?
Because he could have went to another team. He could have fought his way to get traded to another team.
Yeah, but I think
it's like, I'm gonna take my chances with this other crappy team because my teammates there. Like, I don't know about that. I love my good buddies, but I'm not going to be like, let me out of here in this bad situation to go to another one because I can be with my homie. Like, nah, bro. I don't read it that way. I think they felt like they could make a difference. You're not going there because I just want to go be with Aaron Rodgers. You're going there because he thought he might be the difference maker and that things might change. And if he was a part of that and they were doing that together, that it was going to be, it's up from there.
Here's a little tip to anybody who thinks they're going to be the difference maker with the Jets. If you really want to be the difference maker with the Jets, see if they'll trade owners with somebody. And then maybe we could make an impact on the organization. Other than that, it's what it is.
I just don't think that if I'm Davante Adams, you disqualify yourself from saying you felt horrible about this and horrible about that. If you went to New York with any other expectation than you thought you were going to be the catalyst and help Aaron Rodgers to get that thing turned around. If you went there for any other reason than that, then that disqualifies you from saying what you said. But when you look at it from a critical perspective, a logical perspective, the roster would have said that adding a Davante Adams to the New York Jets would, on paper, make them a better team. And it didn't. It didn't. And so where are we with how we feel about Davante Adams now today? It's a matter of can he recapture the magic that he had in Green Bay? Or is it gone? Is it just a matter of, play out your days and head into retirement? I'm curious to see if he can return to being an elite top 5 receiver in the league. What would you have him at? Would you have him as a top 10 receiver right now today?
Ooh, yeah. On bottom lower.
Top 5?
No, not top 5. I wouldn't say top 5. But yeah, he's fringe top 10 still. Like you've got to see, because he's produced and he's done it with not great quarterback options. Like his numbers with Las Vegas were still good despite everything that he went through. And then, he gets, he misses some time. He gets traded. They go to the Jets. That wasn't a great situation. He was still trying to find his footing with Rodgers at certain points of last season as well, too. So his numbers are still there, but at his age, I mean, yeah, I would still say he's a top 10 wide receiver in the league.
Better than Justin Jefferson?
No. God, no.
Jamar Chase?
No.
A.J. Brown?
No.
CeeDee Lamb?
No.
Amon-Ra St. Brown?
No.
Puka Nacua?
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill?
I'll take him over Puka.
I'm not, but go ahead. They're on the same team now. Tyreek Hill?
Probably not, but Tyreek's gotten a little banged up here, so maybe that's a closer
one.
Yeah, maybe that's closer.
Nico Collins.
I'll take Davante.
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors has done it for 1 year.
Brian Thomas Jr.
I'll take Davante. Brian Thomas Jr., by the way, underrated. He didn't get a lot of love last year, but because he was in a bad spot, but he had a good year as well too. But I'll still take Davante.
I think it's a debatable for the last 2 or 3. But if I'm looking at what Davante has done over the last 2 years, I don't take him over any of those.
Yeah, but
I don't take him over not one of those guys looking at the last 2 years.
Okay, but him and Puka Nacua together, that's one of the better wide receiver combos in the league.
Potentially.
Yeah. I guess
potentially. I think that's where we're at.
Well,
after the last 2 years. What is the potential?
Maybe the better question is, would you take Davante Adams or would you take Cooper Kupp? Because that's basically what they did. They took Davante Adams over Cooper Kupp.
It's a for me, that one is tough because if Cooper Kupp stays healthy, I don't have any issues with Cooper Kupp. It's his health that bothers me.
Yeah.
He misses too many games due to health issues. If he is healthy, I'm 100% taking Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua over Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. 100%.
I'm not.
100%.
I'll take Davante.
I don't know what I'm getting with Davante. I don't know if he's been scarred from the traveling from team to team. You are now on your third team? Your third team?
I mean, yeah, but listen, Cooper Kupp, speaking of traveling, he traveled, from a horse and buggy all the way to Washington, to the Rams, back to the Seahawks. I mean, to get out of the Amish community he was in to make it to the NFL and be a Super Bowl MVP, I think says something about him. But,
he's a Mennonite.
I guess.
All I know is that Mennonite can catch that football, and he runs some pretty good routes. And I bet you if you were asking Matthew Stafford who'd he rather have, I bet you he'd take Cooper Kupp over both those dudes.
Damn.
Both Nacua and Davante Adams. Well, if you asked him. So I don't want to speak for him. I don't want to speak out of term, but I would assume he would want Cooper Kupp, a healthy Cooper Kupp. And I think the value there is we know what Cooper Kupp is able to do because of he won offensive MVP of the league with the Rams.
The problem with Cooper Kupp, though, is it's not like he's got 1 year of injuries. Like, this has been multiple years in a row. Since he signed the deal, he hasn't been the same player.
And
because he hasn't been
has
available.
Multiple teams.
Yeah, I mean, people like him.
If they like him, you don't need multiple teams.
They like him. He's in demand.
I don't need multiple teams in that short amount of time to know that people like me. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So where we're at right now is the potential of what Cooper Kupp can do where he's at currently is the same conversation you're going to have about Davante Adams where he is currently. It's all up for debate, and it's all based off of potential because if you show me one person that could tell me or tell you definitively that Davante Adams is going to be a success in LA. Where is that person?
No.
Because I don't think he's there. We got Albert Breer coming on in a moment here. Like maybe he can clear it up. But I'm just telling you, I wouldn't bet the bank on it that Davante Adams is going to be this lights out figure, this player for the LA Rams.